They want to negate any kind of post presence is to keep the ball out of their hands. And for Georgia Tech, really that's what they want to do. They want to use their size inside. They want to have Miller and Carter Jr. and Holsey get as many touches as they can on each possession.
It was actually, Ray Natilli just informed me as you were going over the keys, it was an adjustment to the undergarment on the shoe. Everyone has to wear the same color, and that was the adjustment that had to be made to Tanny and Holsey. Similar to what you would see more oftentimes in football than basketball. Holsey trying to get loose underneath. Being checked by Jabari Parker. It was a turnover, and the Blue Devils get it. As you look at Brian Gregory, now in year number 3, finally has a good ensemble of talent to work with. Not all ready to go at 100%, but he feels with Trey Golden he can bring him in maybe 2 minutes deep into the game and try to get him out there for 2-minute intervals. We'll watch for that momentarily.
Early zone by Georgia Tech here, trying to negate the drive in the deep a little bit. That's a big shot for Rodney Hood. And the thing about him, then he takes the other team's best player defensively. He and Georges Hunt matching up here, and his offense has taken a little bit of a dip.
Duke is better with transition threes than they are with stationary threes, and Bolden is there to answer, and we're tied. A tray apiece, a minute gone.
Tim, in their wins in the ACC, he hits 50% from three-point line. That offense for him is going to be critical, especially against a good three-point shooting team.
Suleiman gets wrapped up by Corey Hayward as he made his way to the goal.
There's the look. Hayward has been a really steadying influence at the point guard position. Duke getting caught underneath on that interchange right there, and it gave Bolden a good look.
Hey, Hayward's pretty wide. That's an outstanding ball screen he can deliver.
We can call him a power point guard.
Indeed. And just as we mentioned it, at about the 18-minute mark, it actually comes 50 seconds prior to that. Trey Golden, team captain, the transfer from Tennessee, makes his way onto the floor, and he could be a real difference maker tonight.
Well, they're going to keep an eye on him and probably play him in shorter increments, but they can't sit him for too long. You don't want that injury to tighten up, so it's a fine line that you play both ways.
And we'll wait to see when Robert Carter Jr. makes his way out. Boy, Daniel Miller was loose deep, but Holsey didn't see him, and now 5-second call.
Well, the time Georgia Tech fell asleep, they were not prepared for Duke's full court pressure that time. An early turnover by the Yellow Jackets.
That's the glue to this team in so many respects. Tyler Thornton, sort of a coach on the floor, a guy that doesn't demand the ball much, but really does lead this team. Hood has been outstanding all season long, as has Rashid Suleiman. Both can drive, draw, and kick.
Really playing without a post right now. All 5 guys on the perimeter.
Hood lights it up again. 2 threes for him, and it's 8-3 Blue Devils.
In the first game, which was a blowout up at Cameron of this series, Rodney Hood 5 of 7 from 3.
Holsey goes crossover. Tough shot, baseline. His jump hook does not go. Thornton with the outlet to Hood. You better check him. Those transition threes were a point of emphasis for Brian Gregory. He told us before the game.
And it's tough, Tim. It's tough, Tim, for to do that too, because usually you build out from the rim back in transition, but to run to that line and pick up guys, it's hard to do.
Bolden on a blow by against Hood. Parker corrals the rebound. Suleiman fouled on the drive, and this foul will go against Georgia Tech. Picked up by Golden.
Here's that look, and then Miller just running up the floor and couldn't see him.
And it resulted in a 5-second call on the other end, as you mentioned, because of the full court pressure. That's the reason why he was so wide open. Duke had picked him up full court. Ball was last touched by Miller.
And I like that play, Tim, when you put a big guy, especially on an underneath out-of-bounds play, to try to limit that guy's visibility. Makes it a lot tougher. North Carolina has done that for years.
Very important for Duke this week when you consider the adjustments made to the loss of the North Carolina game due to the winter storm a week ago. This is a lot to take. North Carolina on Thursday, then Syracuse at home on Saturday in a nationally televised game.
Well, again, I think the casual observer would say, Georgia Tech, they'll take care of business. But this is a team that's gelling, getting healthy, getting players back. It's a dangerous game.
It really is. Don't think Krzyzewski doesn't know it. Jefferson got Miller airborne and then went reversal. Beautiful move by Emil Jefferson, whose offensive game has jettisoned in recent weeks.
Was that Emil Jefferson or Akeem Olajuwon? It looked very Olajuwon-esque.
A little bit of a show and go there. Wonder if we'll see the dream shake later. George's Hunt had it knocked away by Tyler Thornton. Might have gotten a little of his eyebrow as well.
Well, this is Jefferson using his quickness, facing up against Miller, putting the ball on the floor. That was a textbook post move.
See if in this half-court sequence, Mike, they can get the ball inside the Miller.
Well, this is the thing. I mean, it's been so much. We talked about the ball pressure. Now they're trying to work him in the screen roll action. They can't get him the ball.
Shot clock at 2. Golden with a desperation shot off the rim. Parker with a rebound.
He's doing a very good job defensively in the post with both Miller and Carter Jr.
Not much he can't do, huh?
Well, and that's the thing, and that's a tough cover for Carter. You know, I think he would like to bang in the post. Jabari Parker, so athletic and so good off the dribble.
Timeout taken by the Yellow Jackets. And 3.5 minutes gone by, and Duke leading by 9. Let's take a listen to this word from the ACC.
If you want to change the world, you're at Georgia Tech. You can do that. If you want to build the Iron Man suit, you're at Georgia Tech. You can do that. If you want to play theme music during your convocation speech like a we're at Georgia Tech. We can do that. I am doing that.
That's one of those PSAs.
Well, we talked about the fact that Rodney Hood had struggled offensively, and he got not only that, but he got into some foul trouble issues in the past few games. Only 6 minutes against Maryland, but he has gotten off to a quick start, seeing a big basket from 3.
3.5 minutes gone by, and Duke out to a quality start. And Chris Bolden dealing with the ball pressure now of Dawkins, who's coming to the game. Andre, grad student with this club. Ray Golden also trying to deal with Tip. Carter Jr. decides to drive in, and he'll pick up an opportunity at the stripe as Josh Hairston. Wholesale substitutions prior to the break by Krzyzewski.
Yeah, and we're going to see more of Marshall Plumlee in this game as well because of the size. Just a little late getting over that time.
And it was Hairston that got the foul. Miller fouled on the move to the baseline by Quinn Cook, the junior from D.C. by way of Oak Hill Academy. Mike Krzyzewski, 904 of his 977 coming at Duke, all-time winningest coach in college basketball. 34 years at Cameron Indoor Stadium.
How about this, Tim? 30 years of 20-plus wins.
Unbelievable.
And the first 3, you take those out because they were not 20-win seasons.
Yeah, as many Duke games as we have an opportunity to call, it becomes so redundant, you almost at times look past it.
Yep.
But it's a stunning number. Carter Jr. from downtown.
Well, I think, given the circumstances, you're going to play he was 5 of 20 coming into the game. You're going to play the percentages, and you'd rather him shooting 3s than posting up.
Bolden on the reach-in had a lot of leather, but he gets the personal foul. Reaching in against Matt Jones, Marcus Georges Hunt. Robert Carter Jr.
This, against a #1 Syracuse coming in at the end of that, but I think that's a positive thing. They play their last game at home, so they'll get some energy from the crowd. They may be a little fatigued.
Both teams coming off that game are generally fatigued, and now the return engagement will come soon. Do we have a 5-second call? We do. Rare that you'd see that from the Blue Devils, but Quinn Cook did not get it in. The pressure worked, and the Yellow Jackets returned the favor on an earlier 5-second call they picked up.
especially after a timeout too. So that's something rare that you see. Both teams being aggressive and extending their defense. And the other thing too, Tim, both of these teams going, especially Duke, they've already gone 10 players deep in this game in the bench. Only 5 minutes gone. You're going to see 5 new guys come in. Mike has started doing this over the last month or so.
White team to the blue team, right? There's a reach in by Hairston, leading to yet another turnover. And that's a live ball turnover that usually spells trouble for the opposing team against the Devils.
Quinn Cook is a guy, I mean, he really takes care of the basketball. Tremendous assist to turnover ratio, but has been struggling to shoot the ball, as has Andre Dawkins.
Pull up, not there. Miller had it, lost it. Carter Jr. snares it out of the air. He can handle, almost lost it that time though, got it back to Hayward.
I'm sure that Brian Gregory would much rather have the ball out of his hands.
That's a block. It'll go against Hairston. He got up under that time, Miller. A reason for the foul. Coach K disagrees. Hard to get a charge these days.
Yeah, just a hair late that time.
By the scantest of margins, says Mike Eaves. That's 2 on Hairston. And with the mass substitutions, the original starting 5 all back on the floor for Duke. Carter, beautiful inbounds design, taking the pass from Bolden.
And they feel like this is really his first full game back. He had 25 minutes against BC, but he's had some time to practice and feel like he's just about at 100%.
Hood. He has got such a nice touch. And that's a southpaw.
And that's what they do, Tim. And that's they have great spacing. They have just about everybody on the floor can put it on the deck. They get you running, and then they get a good look from 3.
Duke's lead up to 7. Just over 6 minutes gone by here in Atlanta.
Here's the look going baseline. You know where your shooters are, and you're not going to, Thornton isn't going to do anything with the ball in there, but he's got everybody around him. The defense has collapsed.
Trey Golden's going to get back into the game for Brian Gregory. One of the things you can watch for, particularly because Carter Jr. and Golden are not at 100%, not in the kind of basketball shape you'd like, the style of play and the way Duke attacks is perhaps going to get them more fatigued a little more quickly than normal. And there's a foul against Jabari Parker.
You could see early on that, especially here now, Robert Carter Jr. getting the touches, trying to attack Parker, get him in some foul trouble as well.
Tough pass, almost picked off.
Both teams having difficulty getting the ball in bounds.
Golden working on Thornton. This is a nice matchup. Tyler Thornton is a great all-ball defender. Now they switch to Hood.
Carter Jr.'s got a guard on him inside. They can't find him.
Shot clock winding its way down as Halsey drives baseline. Stevens just into the game. That one goes crying off the front iron.
He's become a much better rebounding team over this last stretch, having to do it with 5 guys.
Right away, Rashid Suleiman, a super sop from Houston, gives Duke their largest lead of 10.
Admittedly came into this year out of shape, has worked his way back, was out of the rotation a little bit, but now solidly back in it.
Carter Jr. had to come way out to the perimeter to finally get a touch. Now works against Parker. Gives it up to Quentin Stevens again, but it's not there.
Well, and he put Stevens in a bad way over that time. It was a tough shot, the clock winding down. Ideally, you want the ball in your hands of a Trey Golden in that situation with the clock winding down.
Off the pick. High off the back rim. That one does not fall for Suleiman. What you notice is how difficult it is for Georgia Tech to run what they want. That foul goes against Thornton. Very difficult for Georgia Tech to take a shot that's not stressed, while Duke is getting good looks on their end of the floor.
Well, that's what, when I talked about extreme ball pressure, that's what I meant out on the perimeter, that you're so worried about getting passes to each other outside that it makes it tough to get looks in on the post.
Jefferson's fronting as Holsey decides to take it into the paint, and he gets it to roll.
As I think Holsey much more comfortable. He started this game, but in that three-man rotation with Carter and Miller, he had 15 points, shot a very high percentage against BC.
Plumlee will get back in for Duke during the next dead ball.
So far, Parker very quiet offensively in this game. It's been Hood early on.
Guards driving to the basket. Nice defensive work by Tech against Suleiman, but again, he gets penetration. And a turnover, the end result. Golden has 4-on-1. Alley-oop to Miller.
Used to be kind of mechanical as a freshman, but runs the floor much more effectively now. We saw they missed him early on a run out, Tim, but that was a nice run rim by him.
Oh, that got Bobby Crimmins' court rocking. Parker right back at you.
First good touch and first good look that he's gotten in this game.
You're right. 20-12, Duke by 8. This is a lot more like the Duke we've seen in the past. Overplaying every passing lane. Suleiman giving it up to Parker for the easy deuce.
Yeah, very unselfish. He could have taken it in, but they're really fighting for 5-second calls out front. That's how closely they want to guard.
Miller left free. Poole Jr. just into the game, and that one was last touch by Tech. Off Stacy Poole Jr. Alley-oop got the crowd involved, but guess what? You're still down double digits. You're playing the number 5 team in the country, too. For North Carolina in Tallahassee.
He's been doing a lot of the scoring in the second half, Tim, which is where he did last night. And I didn't think they could win a game without James Michael McAdoo scoring.
Yeah.
And
0-5 for him.
Yeah, in foul trouble the whole game, but Kennedy Meeks really stepped up and had a tremendous game.
He was 11 of 12 from the floor, the young man, and 2 really good games back-to-back for him.
That's the thing that makes this week so tough for Duke. They're playing 3 teams that have very good interior scoring.
The Jackets have struggled finding their scores on the offensive end of the floor. They do get a stop there after the drive by Hood. And let's see what Golden can come up with here. Carter Jr. really trying to post up against Parker, but again, unable to get the ball.
Well, Parker, Jabari Parker forcing him out and catching it maybe 10 feet out farther than he wanted to.
Long rebound, Miller. Finally taken away, though, by Duke, and Matt Jones, the freshman from DeSoto, Texas, in the game.
There's yet to be an offensive rebound in this game, and again, it was quick hands that time by Jones, keeping it alive.
Cook. He dribbled around, finally decided what the heck, I'll throw it up, and he rattled it home to get his first deuce.
Maybe a confidence builder for him. Again, guys troubling to shoot the ball, and all of a sudden that first jumper goes down.
Georgia's up right to the rack. I mean, he really does know how to score. He is a prolific driver and scorer, and loves the big shot, as you well know.
He's got a big body. He loves to use it, and but it's a tough cover with Hood with him. That's a good matchup offensively and defensively.
Parker, this one taken down by Carter Jr. Well, we saw Georgia's Hunt last year beat Miami when they were so solid trying to win the ACC title with a drive, and you had them with that three-point shot against BC the other day. Out of bounds. Last touched by Parker on the end line. Jefferson and Dawkins will come in for Duke. Holsey and Hayward for Georgia Tech. And you see Miller and Golden taking a seat for Brian Gregory.
This is going to be the MO, I think, for Duke as this half and game unfolds. The maximum energy they're expending on the defensive floor. It's like a hockey stick.
Line change. Georgia Hunt. Reach-in foul is spotted. This one against Matt Jones. Still, Mike Krzyzewski is having to transition to life with the execution of rules with the hand checks and the arm bars and the perimeter.
And with the head of officials, John Adams, in the building tonight, these guys are on their toes.
Indeed.
And, but you know what? The odd thing is, those changes have benefited Duke offensively.
Absolutely.
With all the way they can put the ball on the floor, as much as it maybe has hurt them a little bit defensively.
Georgia's helped force that one. End result, this opportunity. On the other end, a beautiful rotation for Quinn Cook, and you're right, a confidence builder it was, and the lead catapults to a baker's dozen.
Well, he's had only one double-figure game in his last 7, and that was a 21-point effort against BC.
Yet another overplay in a passing lane leads to the turnover. This is Brian Gregory's worst nightmare. Exactly what he could not have happen is backcourt being devastated by the ball pressure brought by the Devils. An 11-2 run for the Blue Devils, and the reinforcements, the 5-on-5 substitution pattern of Coach K has worked beautifully, and really that number 2 unit has done the job. They've spearheaded a lot of the opportunities to get this lead to the point where it is.
Well, if they get those 2 guys going too offensively, Hood has gotten some good rhythm early, Cook has gotten some rhythm, and then the last one, Dawkins, who has really been struggling. With 10 points off 5 Georgia Tech turnovers. 5 turnovers against this team in 13 minutes, not bad, but they've converted on every single one of them.
Georgia's Hunt again, trying to force his way in there with that size and brawn, but Holsey gets the offensive rebound to the putback.
First, second chance points for Georgia Tech on the glass.
Dawkins wide open for the 3. Again, a quality look, and Duke's getting many of them out of their half court.
And that's the other guy who's been asleep offensively. And if this team's making threes and shooting at this percentage,
it's a long night for the opposition.
Absolutely.
Golden again leaning in, and Georgia Tech's offense has been reduced to driving guards with 4 shots. Dawkins leaves it for Jefferson, who's trailing. Count it, and a foul. Softly. A Roberta Flack off of the window pane. Just killing it softly. Trey Golden gets the foul. He knew the contact was coming. This is just a thing of beauty and understanding where you are.
And because of the way they shoot threes, they lead the nation in points per possession, which is at 1.3, which is astounding.
I'm amazed at the emergence of Jefferson of late. Now, he missed that free throw. He has improved, and he had a lot of room for that in recent weeks after his start to the season. But that was just a marvelous decision in terms of knowing he was about to get fouled and adjusting his shot to get the and-one possibility.
Right, this ball pressure, they have not been able to get the ball inside.
Holsey trying to split a double team and is fouled. That's really the only opportunities they've had have been to force the issue and hope that perhaps the whistle would blow that they would maybe get fouled. That goes against Houston, his 3rd.
Well, but the key thing, too, is they are not getting deep catches 1 foot or 2 feet in the paint. They're getting forced to come out 3 or 4 feet off the line, and that's a big difference. And now all of a sudden they have to do things off the dribble.
Kenyon Holsey, redshirt senior from Hancock Central in Sparta, Georgia. He's one of the top 6 men in this conference a year ago, but this year he was forced to join the starting lineup in large measure because of all the injuries that the Yellow Jackets had.
But that was really an unselfish move on his part last year. Carter Jr. coming in as a much heralded freshman, gave up his starting position, but also was playing a lot of minutes. So I think that's the most important thing at the end of the day.
Suleiman past Hayward, and he's going to be able to do that most of the evening in a matchup like that.
Yes, and he's so good at putting the ball on the floor. You saw the spacing right there. The lane was wide open. You let him get to his right hand, that's tough.
7 points in the game for him. Georges Hunt with a little delay and throws up a teardrop air ball.
Nice defensive work that time by Hood. He's got the length to bother Georges Hunt.
Thornton. I think that was an attempted pass, but Miller deflected it. Bolden's got it on the other end. It's sort of a 1-on-3. And again, a stressful shot that leads to an out-of-bounds play coming up underneath their own basket. And they are really stressed at this stage, Brian Gregory's team.
No, they're just trying to figure out how to run their offense at this point. Let's see the looks on the bench right now. They have taken an early body blow from the Blue Devils.
Miller just unable to get a touch. Plumlee defending him now. Holsey, nice up and under move by Camion. 36-19. He's got 7 for the Yellow Jackets.
Miller had a good game up in Cameron Indoor Stadium. That was the second game that Carter Jr. didn't play, but Carter Jr. and Holsey have been more effective in this game.
Hood, the leaping leaner won't go. Georges Hunt out of the gates. Thornton just will deny him the rim.
Look at this transition defense by Duquette. Getting back, cutting off any kind of break situation.
Holsey is called for some help, and Robert Carter Jr. will check in for him. He's fatigued, number 24 in white. He's trying to check this guy, Parker, and right away they go to him past Miller, and he's got 8.
Everybody on the right side of the floor, they gave Parker some room to move. There was no time for double team to come over.
I don't know if Holsey may have gotten the Charlie horse or something. He's not physically well. I don't know if it's just fatigue or maybe he tweaked his ankle or leg. He's got it right now down on the blocks. Got the double team and managed to put it through. He runs back, showing some signs of a bit of a limp. He's got 9 points, though. They need his offense right now.
Well, they came with a smaller double team in Thornton that time, and Holsey turned into it. He was able to shoot over the top of the guard, doubling.
And Hayward will pick up the foul with the hand check. Timeout. 3:18 remaining as Hayward gets his second. Blue Devils looking for
some offensive rebounds. He's been able to put the ball on the deck a little bit and drive. Some good moves there. He and Carter Jr. combined 6 of 8 from the floor. The rest of the team 3 of 15.
He did come down gingerly after one of those moves. And Carter Jr. has checked in for him. In that BC game you had, I know he tweaked his knee in that game, and apparently was a little bit of a problem after one of those plays a moment ago. I don't know that he was also just a bit tired to go with that, but noticeably asked to come out of the game, and Brian Gregory acquiesced. It is off the front iron for Hood. And Georges Hunt gets it down the floor.
And the last thing you want, I mean, they haven't had that 3-man rotation all year long. You get Carter Jr. back. You hope that it's nothing serious with Holsey.
Holden hit his first 3 and has been silenced since. Beautiful pass to Carter Jr. That's what that young man can do. He's got great body control, a good handle, just not in game shape yet.
Well, finally, and it looks like Georgia Tech starting to get their legs underneath them on the offensive end of the floor. That was a good 2-man game, a pick and roll. Emil Jefferson a little late getting over to help.
Brian Gregory's got to be thinking, right? Want to get that down to 10 or maybe under. Just as we say that, Parker takes it right to the rim and has an and one opportunity coming his way. And Miller picks up the foul, his first.
Well, let's see now. Maybe if they switch off. I mean, that's a tough cover for Daniel Miller. Parker inside. He's just too quick with the basketball.
Brian Gregory's team trying to swim upstream against this Blue Devils team that has come out with a cause tonight. They may have gotten the memo watching North Carolina come from a 21-6 deficit last night on the road against Florida State.
This Mike Krzyzewski's team, they never look ahead. It's next possession. It's not next game.
No, you don't win 30 games the way they do historically without thinking about just what's next. Parker in the open floor. Look at this. Thornton reads his man and gets it out to Cook, who can't connect, but it's run down by Thornton.
Good tip out that side to recycle the possession by Parker.
Spread, another look for Cook.
Running the two-man game, and they're trying to keep him going. Got some early confidence. Haven't heard from George's Hunt in a while.
He turned down an open three. I don't know if you're going to get a much better look against Duke than that.
Parker doing a nice job of changing position defensively against Miller, fronting sometime.
Carter Jr. feeling it over Jefferson, and he gets the roll. I think he likes the matchup when it's Emil Jefferson.
Well, but that's the thing. I mean, that was well played defensively, and that was a tough jump hook from range.
It was.
Carter.
He is a solid player. Well, a reminder, ACC Network is giving you a chance for the jugular is a common theme. A reminder, coming up at halftime, speaking of that matchup on Thursday, Dan Bonner and I will have it for you. Mike and I will preview it, plus we'll give you some scores of other games, highlights, and preview what's coming up also in half number 2. Hardy's halftime report coming up. Good sign, though, for Georgia Tech may be the way Carter Jr. has gotten into the flow the last couple of minutes.
Yeah, I think that time off really came at a good time for him. He got, like I said, he got some good minutes against BC, but then some time to rest and work on his conditioning as well.
Parker working against Miller one-on-one. Pretty good defensive sequence there for Miller. But again, another offensive rebound. Shot differential. The ball did not hit the rim, so no recycle at the clock. 11-second differential. Dawkins. Counter.
That's what happens when you give them multiple chances. They had 3 shots at the rim that time, and they wind up with a 3.
Trey Golden, and even now, ball pressure really being delivered by Suleiman, and he'll pick up the foul as a result. He's upset with himself.
Duke foul charge to number 14, Rashid Suleiman. His first
foul on Rashid.
Yeah, we saw there's still plenty of time. 3.4 seconds to advance the ball up the floor.
Shooting 1-1.
In a lot of ways, after the Clemson loss, you think about this run that Duke is on, goes back to the Clemson loss, which was just a couple of games after they had another loss. And they found themselves then, and I thought the Pittsburgh win on the road really was a lightning rod for them. They've been playing at a higher level ever since.
And too, Mike Krzyzewski had been dealing with the death of his brother, and that was a factor as well. And he talked about it as such, but this has been a different team, especially defensively.
Yeah, they really look like a top 5 team tonight, no question. Before our packed house in Atlanta, first one of the year for Georgia Tech, it has been all Duke. Hardy's halftime coming up.
ACC basketball is being brought to you by Ruby Tuesday, official corporate champion of the ACC.
Beautiful evening in Atlanta. At long last, some quality weather throughout the southeast corridor. And Duke has certainly responded to the environment. Look how warm they've been. Hood with 9, Suleiman, Cook each adding 7, but Parker leading the way on 5 of 8 shooting. And Holsey, as Mike touched on at halftime, really leading it for Georgia Tech.
Duke looking to get a little backdoor action here early.
And right away, Hood driving it into the paint is fouled, and Hayward.
They like to bring him off the right side of the floor, Jim, so he can get to that left hand and make plays or make passes.
That's the 3rd foul on Calvin Hayward. Corey Hayward, I beg your pardon.
Georgia Tech going with a smaller cover. It's only the 3rd turnover of the game, but they went with a smaller cover on Parker. They had Miller on him, and you got to make choices.
I think they were in shock. And Parker was airborne when he made the pass, too, so he was quick to say, my bad.
Always leave your feet as a shooter, never as a passer.
Just underway second half.
Very important first couple of minutes here for Georgia Tech to get some good possessions and see the ball go through the rim, try to work back in this game in 4-minute increments.
Weimer just into the game, and the freshman sophomore who was forced into playing time with all the injuries finally got quality playing time a few weeks back against Clemson. Ignites with a beautiful scoop to the hoop using the glass.
Well, and this crowd just looking for something to grab hold of.
He had been playing sparingly until that Clemson game, has played a good deal of late. All the injuries to the backcourt. Remember, this Georgia Tech team lost Jorgensen very early. He's a tremendous prospect. He'll be a part of this team a year from now. Jefferson goes reversal and gets the job done late in the clock.
Yeah, good catch, good offense by him. Again, Thornton, he is such a leader on this team, Tim. They all respect him. They've responded to him. He's played more minutes in the last 4 or 5 games. That was a nice delivery.
Holsey. That looked like a tired shot. Not much trajectory on it. Keep watching to see if he's favoring that tweaked knee from the Boston College game the other day. They need him to stay healthy. So the rest of the month of February, Parker drives against him and draws the foul from Kevion Holsey.
This is just, in that first half, Tim, 10 assists, 2 turnovers. They had a third one here early, but they have really had positive possessions every time down the floor. And if you look at one stat league-wide, the assist-to-turnover ratio as a team, outside of Boston College, the teams that take better care of the ball are near the top.
Yeah. I was at practice the other day in anticipation of the North Carolina game, Mike, and got a good long look at Parker. And as great a player as he is, the thing that you notice from the practice and being there for all of it is how dedicated he is to improving. Jefferson picks up the foul far from the basket with the pressure against Georgia's Hunt. It's not often you say that about a superstar talent.
Well, and the thing, too, the coaching staff talking about being able to coach him hard, which for guys with big expectations and freshmen, sometimes they're not accepting of that. He is. The rest of the team understands that, and he really wants to improve, especially on the defensive end of the floor.
Weimer being dogged by Suleiman.
Look how far out Georgia Tech is trying to run their offense.
And again, the pressure leads to an over and back. Great work again by Jefferson.
That's your power forward out at half court pressuring a turnover for a primary ball handler. They get the switch on things. They jump it late, moving his feet, and it's just, he ran out of real estate.
The stress test continues for Georgia Tech on the offensive end. Hood on a blow-by against Bolden, but Miller swatted it away. He deflected it out of bounds to Duke.
First block of the game for Miller. They've had him out on the floor.
What a remarkable shot blocker he has been throughout his career here, too.
More in a turning shot blocker, too, Tim. Not a guy who's going to, go up 3 feet above the rim and get something, but he gets it as it leaves your hand. A lot of different ways to do it.
Mike Krzyzewski had wonderful words for him to me today at the Duke shoot-around. He loves Miller's game. He has made himself a big-time pro later on.
Well, Brian Gregory has done that, too. Yep. I mean, Paul Hewitt rarely used him in the offense, and Brian Gregory says, you're going to get touches, you're going to be a center.
Parker working against Holsey, and that'll be 2 against Kevion, as Parker decided to just take it right to the rim. As we take a look at your Ruby Tuesday around the ACC. How about that?
Virginia Tech up, and that was a big win for Clemson to kind of stay in it.
Maryland stays hot.
Yep.
Look out for them the second half of the season in their swan song in the ACC. Really difficult, I guess, for North Carolina State to rebound after such a devastating defeat Like the one they had against Syracuse the other night that you and Steve Martin were on hand for.
Well, it looked like, Maryland's starting to get healthy too as well. Seth Allen coming back, and I think they may be a factor, maybe one of those teams that can come out of that middle. And Clemson too, I'm interested in. They've had some late season swoons. Can they continue to win and move up? The thing against them is their strength of schedule, the weakest of that group.
Yes. Georgia Hunt needs help. There's yet another 5 second. Well, they get the timeout. They did. Got the timeout before the 5 second count. Brian Gregory has seen plenty of that tonight. Down by 19. And I don't recall a time when a player with those kinds of numbers was as understated and maybe even undervalued around the country. Granted, he plays for a team that's hovering around 500, 4-8 in the league, but he's one of the really outstanding college basketball players most of the country outside the ACC footprint knows very little about.
Even now, look how far away he is. Jefferson pressuring him, trying to get that 5 second call. Georgia Tech cannot run their offense.
This is Duke's defense in vintage form. Thornton with a takeaway. Pass was behind Suleiman as he was trying to make his move. And we'll go back the other way. Mike will live with that.
Right, Tim, I'll tell you what, this is as out of sorts as I've seen a team offensively. And it's just been the unrelenting pressure by Duke that's got them in this state.
And by and large, they've done it without fouling. And that's difficult to do, particularly on the road for any team. Lesson on how to use your feet while defending.
Look how far out again. Power forward, catching it out near half court.
Olsey drives, got his man airborne, and we'll get to the free throw line. Parker upset with himself. Second foul on Jabari Parker.
Well, this is your power forward again doing everything off the dribble, and that came from almost half court, and he got bailed out right at the end with a foul.
And that has been, by and large, Mike, the offense. You have to drive to the basket, hope that you can one-on-one manage to get your man airborne, get to the free throw line. The ability to run a ball screen or any kind of pick and pop, it's not there for Georgia Tech tonight.
Yeah, and only 6 assists in that first half, so everything was done off of the dribble or off of the offensive glass.
Olsey has 10 and Georgia Tech's 30. They trail by 18 as we approach the first television timeout of the second half.
The 1-2-2 zone by Georgia Tech now. Try to take Duke out of its rhythm.
Good little stutter step. Oh, he's so good with that soft left-hander. He's crafty in there, and he's got the length to go with it, does the transfer from Mississippi State.
You can make him go right somehow. Force him to beat you going that way. He's too good with his left hand.
Carter Jr. from way downtown.
That's just born out of frustration, I think, for Carter Jr. He's taken a 3 earlier in this game.
George's Hunt got the foul, his first. SWW. 4 more details.
Wholesale shift change for Duke. 5 new players out on the floor.
Well, it's one of the reasons they've been so relentless on the defensive end, Mike, as you mentioned. They're fresh. Playing it in sort of 4 or 5 minute intervals and getting the other team in.
Well, in years past, at this point in time, Mike Krzyzewski would go 6.5, 7 deep.
Yeah.
And now he's gone and he's playing a much deeper bench, shorter time increments.
Thinking we may have had a clock situation, a reset of the clock. It did not start on time, so they're going to check. And Coach K gets a free timeout. Yeah, you're right. He, by and large, would be steadfast with a 7-man rotation at this time of the year. And the other thing, too, the adjustment that had to be made, Tom Izzo talked about it to me, and you know how tough his teams traditionally are. As you look at the shot clock and game clock situation that they are looking at right now.
Well, actually, the shot clock stopped.
Okay.
It's stuck on 25, and that was the issue. The game clock was right. The shot clock stopped.
But the adjustment seems to have been made is the point. Tonight, they are playing every bit as aggressive as any Duke team I've ever seen defensively, and they are managing to do it without committing that many fouls in the perimeter.
Well, yeah, and when you have...
The clock stopped. We're being informed now by Mike Eads when the clock did stop.
Yeah, you'll see it's folding out. The shot clock will stop at 25 over on the left, and the game clock will continue to run. And then it stopped late, and then it stopped.
It's been adjusted, and we're up and going. Not quite 5 minutes gone by here in the second half.
Again, you talk about it, that the way you negate it, if you don't have a stud shot blocker inside, that you put so much pressure out on the perimeter that the guys can't even see into the post, and that's effectively what's happened. They've also done a nice job fronting the post and forcing guys to come out.
Ooh, Bolden with a strong move. Surprised Dawkins that time with a quick burst. Using the finger roll, and he'll get to the free throw line to boot. Andre's first foul.
I thought he was going to get off to a quick start, hit an early three, and that's a tough play going left and finishing with your right hand, but he goes right into Dawkins' chest and gets the foul.
Bolden is a streaky scorer, and once he gets warmed up, look out. And you're right, after he hit that first three to tie the game, visions of illusions of grandeur were there, but not realized. It's now a 17-point game.
Zone again for Georgia Tech.
Jones, Hairston, Cook, Plumlee, and Dawkins, the five on the floor for the Devils. Andre's shot's too strong, and I think Hairston might have been clipped over the back that time. That's 4 on him. He's had some hard luck, foul difficulty in the game, but as aggressive as they are, and at times when you're reaching or using your arms, and as he did there, we're going to get tagged.
Well, so, you know, there's that fine line between being aggressive and then also understanding a ball that you can't get to, and you don't want to waste a foul in that situation. You know, just get back in transition and make a play.
Thornton has Bolden go right by him, and after the crossover maneuver, really nothing else Tyler could do but foul him. He didn't want to give up the layup.
Well, and that's the first thing. All right, here's the way with Georgia Tech, slow the game down a little bit. It's the first time they've run that high pick and roll with Miller in the middle of the floor to get Bolden some room.
Brian Gregory trying to pull every move possible to get his team back into it. This is a guy that won 97 games in his 4 years at Dayton. I mentioned Tom Izzo earlier. They talk weekly. He was a first lieutenant for Tom.
That's the thing, Tim. And right now, you've got to play this game. I talk about 4-minute increments and those timeouts. And maybe by the 10-minute mark, if you can get this to at double figures or just under 10, give yourself a little bit of a glimmer of hope.
Yeah, and get this sellout crowd involved again. Student body is ready to erupt, and they have not had much to cheer about.
Keep running man principles against that zone, some screening at the top.
And a bump by Bolden. Kind of a giveaway foul that time by Chris, the sophomore from Tifton, Georgia. And Miller got a hand on that one. Very deceptive. Good, tough shot. Miller defended very well there.
Yeah, it is. And he stayed down on the pump fake and made him take a tough shot without fouling.
There's the pop out for Georgia's own. Decides to drive and goes with the scoop. Miller on the glass, missed a chippy. Doesn't go. Yet another loose ball. Hayward stays with it. Oh, the iron painfully unkind to the Yellow Jackets. Out of bounds to Georgia Tech. Crowd responds positively to the effort on the offensive boards. And Mike Krzyzewski wants a timeout. My guess is he won't respond quite as positively. Good defense on this end of the floor by Miller.
Well, here it is, the spin, and got a hand, I think, in on that play, and then stayed with it for the rebound. But it is a tough cover, and this one, it's like they had the rebounding ring on that for the drill. Just would not go down. Mike Krzyzewski very upset with his team about 4 opportunities.
And again, a reminder, tonight's coverage of ACC basketball is being broadcast on AFN, the American Forces Network, and we welcome the nearly 1 million men and women of the U.S. Army, Air Force, Navy, Coast Guard, and Marines stationed around the globe in 175 countries and on the high seas. We're proud to have you with us tonight and hope you're enjoying our broadcast.
Miller was the one probably most upset. That was the most makeable of the shots. Easy right there. It wouldn't go down.
And there haven't been many for him tonight.
And we haven't heard Jabari Parker's name much early in this second half offensively.
Daniel Miller, double-digit scorer coming into this game, averaging 11.5, only 2 points tonight. Carter Jr., a little high-low game. They're going to feed and fan the big fella. Can't get it to go, and Parker brings it down.
He got good deep position, but then took a long jump hook, almost going away from the basket.
And you've had that many tough looks, and it's been difficult to get the ball. Sometimes some anxiety seeps into your game. Jefferson and Thornton now working. Carter Jr. gets the rebound. Oh, Thornton steals it. What a play by the captain.
That's the value to this team. He doesn't make mistakes with the ball, and he gets plays back for you.
That was a remarkable defensive play. Really gave up his body there. Parker falling away. Miller the rebound. Hayward gets it.
Both teams in an offensive drought right now after the last 2 or 3 minutes.
Really an opportunity missed by Georgia Tech to carve into the Duke lead, which remains at 15. There's the dump down to Miller. Quick help. Guess who?
Yeah, again.
He's all over the place.
Making the play, making steals.
Duke hasn't had a field goal in over 4 minutes. It's the 15:54 mark, and yet they maintain a 15-point cushion. Parker got Miller airborne, but a foul is spotted. It will be a 2-shot violation underneath. Almost walked with the ball. Miller picks up a second. How about that play? You gotta want it more than the other guy. And Tyler
capitalized because they're only shooting 22%.
After a 7 for 11 first half from beyond the arc, Duke, you had to feel would cool down. This is, after all, not Cameron Indoor Stadium. Historically, they've always shot the ball at an alarming pace, better at home than on the road. Although during this span of 9 games, even in the overtime epic loss at Syracuse, the Iron was kind to them. This is just a much better shooting team. Again, finding ways to win without a prolific post presence. That's what Duke has done so well this season.
Well, and that's Mike Krzyzewski coaching this team offensively a lot like his national teams in the Olympics.
Holsey with the putback after Poole Jr. got it on the rim. Holsey went to get it. And that may be your best opportunity at inside play. Entry passes aren't making it there, but a missed shot you can go get.
Off the drill, yeah. And all of a sudden now, just a 13-point game. Crowd starting to get back into it.
7-0 run over the last 440. Could be even more damaging were it not for Duke's defense. Matt Ofer is going now upwards of 5 minutes. Suleiman lost it on the way up. Poole Jr. got him on the arm. Robert Carter Jr. telling his defenders to keep it up.
Suleiman so very good at getting into the lane. Duke basically just running a weave outside, really having no post presence at all. Last one was an empty possession for Duke with Parker missing both of those free throws. Normally steady at the line at 78%.
Mentioned the involvement of Mike Krzyzewski and really to some extent Jim Boeheim, the top two coaches in the country in terms of overall wins, and the fountain of youth that's come from being involved with USA Basketball. Rasheed Suleiman played for the under-19 team last summer in the World Championships in Prague.
Well, he had had several offers over the years from pro teams, and I think it's really the best of both worlds for Mike, and that he gets to work with the best players on the pro level and still has his program at Duke. It's really a perfect situation.
Hayward using that girth of his to get to the free throw line. He's fouled by Rasheed Suleiman, his second. Well, it seems as though Brian Gregory has made a few adjustments that have helped Georgia Tech. Even though they've not been making a large percentage of their shots, they are at least saying we're going to get to the rim some way, somehow.
Spread it out themselves. Hayward, that's his first, his 0 of 3 from the free throw line in the ACC competition.
And it appears that the experiment for Trey Golden may have come and gone. Played for a while early in the first half. Not seen here in the second.
Yeah, I mean, you know, again, did it stiffen up over at halftime? You know, tough to keep that loose. So you really don't want to gamble with something like that.
This is a 9-2 Georgia Tech run over a long span of time. It's gotten them to within 13. Let that whirl and go. The Suleiman wanted a foul, didn't get it. Bolden's got Holsey with him. And that's going to be a block against Hood.
Well, one of the things that's happened with Duke offensively is they've had to play in the half court. They've not gotten many runouts. They've not gotten many steals, turnovers off their defense. And Georgia Tech has been much more solid in their half court defense.
Bolden at the free throw line, a 66% free throw shooter. Cook and Dawkins replace hard-working Tyler Thornton and Rasheed Suleiman. Hayward, Bolden, Poole Jr., who will probably get the lion's share of minutes now that Golden is not playing, along with Holsey and Miller, are the 5 on the floor for Tech. They are down 12. And again, this run over the last 5:45 is a 10-2. A pull-up from the elbow does not go, but that's a nice offensive rebound by Jefferson. Fire away by Hood.
The first shot defense, very good. They give up an offensive rebound. Hood not afraid to put up that second shot. You often get that good look on the offensive rebound from 3.
Emil Jefferson got the recycle and a quality look for Hood. Just like that, back to 15.
Right, it was just Daniel Miller very frustrated inside. Good block by Parker.
Big time. Hayward went into no man's land. That is like a turnover. The game plan was to keep Miller from being active. They've done that. Duke has not allowed him any room whatsoever. Parker, he fight for it. Parker gets it and he's fouled. Count it! And he'll get to the line.
The only blue jersey in there and just outworked. He was the quickest off the floor. That's why he got that offensive rebound.
15 for Jabari Parker.
Here's the look. I mean, he had inside position against Miller, fought for it, and got it up quickly.
This is one great player with a future that is absolutely going to be immediate and very worthwhile, and yet his work ethic is unquestioned. No sense of entitlement from number 1 in blue.
And I don't, you know, you look at him, Tim, I don't think you call him a position. I mean, he's a basketball player.
Yeah.
I mean, that's, you know, he's got size, he's got quickness, he's got range, he can shoot, he can handle.
Glenn Cook gets the foul, his second. It's the 8th team foul against Duke. So Hayward gets back to the free throw line. Now, you're right about Jabari Parker. I tell you, there are very few players that you will see as we have Carter Jr. in too quickly for a violation.
And that's on the front end of the one-on-one, so it negates the whole play.
Huge mistake there by Carter Jr.
Well, you heard that we were sitting down near the Duke bench and everybody yelling block out, knowing that Hayward is a suspect free throw shooter. And Carter Jr. just too eager to get into the lane.
I don't know that there's anyone that I've seen in this league in a long time that I could compare Parker to, who is, as you said, just an incredible basketball player in every sense, and we've got a foul underneath. That one will go against Holsey. Rooting out his man, that's his third foul. A bewildered Daniel Miller getting a little time on the bench for Brian Gregory. So Camion Holsey with 3, and Emil Jefferson at the free throw line. You know, it's almost as if Jefferson's free throw shooting percentage might improve from the moment he got that one to go down. Remember that boulder that somehow fell in against Virginia in overtime? Remember that?
Yeah, big play.
And right after that, his numbers really began to pick up at the free throw line overall. Holsey working on Parker. Tough take on the baseline. He muscles it up but can't get it to go. On the deck and a tie ball. We're on the same side as the arrow. It is with Georgia Tech.
But a pretty nice job defensively. Just forced him into an area where he had no chance to get a shot up, a quality shot up anyway.
Corey Hayward to trigger it in.
Georges Hunt has just had a tough evening. They've locked down on him.
Manages to get that one, the runner off the glass to fall. He's got 4. So the memo should be to Mr. Page in North Carolina. Check with Georges Hunt on what his evening was like and the rest of the Yellow Jacket guards, because that kind of defensive ball pressure is likely to be coming on Thursday night. Cook got a lane and took the ball right through it, and he'll get to the free throw line. 7:35 remaining, Duke by 16. We'll be back after these messages from your local ACC station.
That they really needed to dominate and haven't been able to do it this evening.
Camion Holsey picked up his 4th foul in that last sequence as Cook was driving it to the rim. He'll be at the free throw line as Robert Carter Jr. checks in for him, along with Miller, Bolden, Hayward, and Georges Hunt. Duke counters with Hood, Dawkins, Parker, Jefferson, and Cook at the free throw line.
Three missed free throws in the last 4 minutes for Duke so far.
After a scintillating start in the opening half.
Two empty possessions at the free throw line.
Winning with defense here in the second half after these long droughts that they've had on the offensive end. On this end of the floor, they have hell serve for Coach Gay. Nice lob into Miller. Wave it off. Foul prior to the shot, says Ray Natili. And it goes against Emil Jefferson.
Tough play, too. I mean, they had the whole backside emptied out, and they were trying to get the lob. Jefferson was fronting.
Daniel Miller at the line, shooting 1 and 1.
He's a really humble young guy. who's worked hard on his game and took advantage of a redshirt year to make himself a better player. Not many kids in today's college basketball do that.
That's how many empty possessions Georgia Tech missing and had the line violation on the front end of the 1-and-1s, and then Duke missing 2 on shooting fouls on this end.
Parker has Carter. Miller had it, lost it. Parker taps it back out. It was out of bounds, it appeared.
Substitution number 14.
And will be controlled on this end of the floor to Duke. Devils hang on to it. Seems like those loose ball opportunities underneath. Miller can't grab them, and Parker gets tap outs to keep it alive.
Tap outs are quicker off the floor. Those 50-50 balls that Duke has been coming up with.
Quicker to the ball, our old friend Al McGuire used to say. One team is quicker to the ball, and it's a huge advantage, whether you're on the road or at home. State deciding to milk a little clock with this possession by spreading the floor. And Suleiman and Hood are going to go to work. Shot clock at 5. Cook for 3. Miller clears.
Duke hadn't really gone deep into the shot clock much in this game. That's as far down as they've counted out.
And doing it with a little more than 6 minutes remaining in the game, too. Carter, a little whirling dervish, 360 that will not fall, but it's taken down by Parker.
Jabari Parker wanted to go coast to coast on that one. Cook telling him to slow his roll a little bit, give it to the point guard.
The clock winds down. You know Parker really wants to get the rock. Suleiman decides to drive against Miller. He's rejected. Max Krzyzewski believes there was a little body involved too. You can make a case that Moore's being called from the perimeter, and a lot of body is allowed down low.
Well, I think coaches are saying that in general.
Yes.
That check is easy, 5 seconds to shoot.
And Parker's got it, not a bad choice. Past Georges Hunt. And Georges Hunt gets the rebound. Dogged by Hood. Boy, just nothing coming easily. They just are like gnats on your back porch that won't go away in the spring.
Well, and this is the thing, too. And when Duke started to become, they were a very good offensive team early, but when they really started becoming better defensively, it was Hood.
Look at that.
The spring, yeah.
Incredible. Absolutely incredible. Every pass is contested, and the moment you blink or get lackadaisical, you're going to pay a price. And now we've got
Daniel Miller stepping in, and just
total frustration for Georgia Tech.
Unforced error. The one pass leading directly to the basket on the other end. One of the few runouts that Duke has had in the second half. And then Miller just losing concentration. There was nobody to throw to, and he stepped in bounds.
Now he's trying to thwart the efforts of Hood. He's trying to trigger it in for Duke.
Well, nobody at that time running to the ball to give Rodney Hood an option to inbound. Everybody's standing.
Been a sluggish second half for Duke offensively, but they have maintained at least a 13-point lead throughout the second half.
And I would sense now that Duke is going to start to run some clock, Tim. Get it down around 10 seconds and then try to get something creative going into the lane.
Something else to consider, too. Shortening the game here with the kind of week they have in front of them, probably not a bad idea. Tap out by Thornton, another recycle. When you think about it, they've got to play now not only the Thursday game with North Carolina, but turn right around to play Saturday night in a game that, from a national standpoint, may have more significance than the Battle of the Blues, that rematch against Syracuse.
And this effectively, this possession, they're going to be able to burn a minute off the clock.
Parker splits the double and is hammered, and in doing so, he walks. And Georgia Tech has it. Well, closed captioning for ACC basketball is provided by Bojangles' famous chicken and biscuits. It's Bo time. Emil Jefferson checks back into the game. Parker takes a seat with 4:08 remaining. It's a tough night for the Yellow Jackets. They are a sellout crowd, high anticipation of these players returning to the lineup. Duke just took it away from the outset. And then over and back here. Yet another turnover committed by whom?
Yeah, Mr. Thornton.
Yes, indeed. From the moment the Dukies came on the floor, they had command of the game. Inside, outside, all around.
North Carolina going into that game that they played last night.
Yep.
It was a road game. They had to travel, but 24 extra hours of rest going into that game with a late start here on a Tuesday night for Duke. Those things are, those at this point, and as well as both teams are playing, those things really come into play.
The reverse will be true after the game on Thursday night because North Carolina plays Wake early on Saturday at home at noon, and then Duke does get a little extra time to play Syracuse in prime time on Saturday night. It all evens out at the end.
Yeah,
right?
the schedule comes at everybody.
Thornton rattles it home from downtown.
That's the thing, lost about him. 47% from three.
He just doesn't look for it that often. That's his first bucket of the night. And he looked pretty confident with the shot. 63-42. This has been a clinic defensively for Duke tonight.
What I've been talking about, when they became a good team, it was Rodney Hood who really stepped up and he said, give me the other team's best scorer on the perimeter. And he was the one who set the tone defensively.
Nice work by Poole Jr. He gets that one to go. Brother dismissed a little earlier this season. Well, you mentioned Hood. Mike, you go back and you look at his resume and the way it came together for him as a player. He was probably the stabilizing force in a team of nomads at Mississippi State that blew up to such a point that it cost Rick Stansbury his job. This young man has made a huge difference in Duke. And it's not often that Mike has transfers. You can count on one hand. Hayward leaves it to Carter Jr. and there's a foul underneath. So when you take a young man like that and from that situation, you had to know that he was a real good apple in a very difficult situation.
3 transfers. Rashawn McLeod, and Dante Jones, and Seth Curry.
Yep.
All 3 go on to become first-team All-ACC performers.
And who's to say that this young man won't?
Yes, absolutely.
Yeah. Parker will check into the game for Emil Jefferson, who's been once again outstanding in his role coming off the bench. Waymer is also checked into the game. He got the first deuce of the second half for Georgia Tech, number 43 tonight. I still believe, even with this loss for Georgia Tech, this is a team that's going to have some surprising wins the rest of this month, Mike. I like the feel for what Brian Gregory is trying to accomplish once he gets all of his bodies out there healthy.
Well, yeah, and you hope that Trey Golden gets healthy quickly, that Cam Holsey, what you saw wasn't anything serious, because there are pieces to this team, definitely.
They have some guys that can score. Usually the Achilles heel for a lot of teams is the inability to score. They've got options. Duke just destroyed any chance of running an offense to score today.
And that coupled with ungodly shooting in the first half, it just put it too much of a deficit.
Martin picks up the foul. And don't think that wasn't important to Mike Krzyzewski coming in here. Certain teams, certain situations, you want to jump on them quickly and then go for the jugular. And that's really what happened in tonight's game.
That's the thing. I don't know in his Hall of Fame career if there's ever been such a thing as a trap game. every game's important.
That's right. Closed captioning for ACC basketball tonight provided by Bojangles, famous chicken and biscuits. It's Bo time. And last week, while stranded in Chapel Hill for 4 days, let me tell you, without a Bojangles and an Outback on the 15-501, I was in trouble. I was in serious trouble. So was Rob Reichley, by the way.
That's like you said, though. I mean, that was like a trip to the spa for you. It was the first road trip you lost weight on.
Yeah, I think I dropped 2 on the treadmill. The hotel was down to Waverly Crackers after day 2. The foul spotted as Suleiman was being dogged by Waymer.
Well, here he is. You know, is he going to be Player of the Year in the conference this year? Is he going to be Rookie of the Year in the conference? Is he going to be both? And it's been pretty understated night for Jabari Parker for the most part. I mean, I think Hood was so dynamic early on, but he has really battled inside. See, I mean, he's 16 and 14, and it's the quietest 16 and 14 I've seen in a long time.
Yeah. It's always noticeable superstar talent, superior talent. You cannot hide it. It's always there. But what is really great to see is superstar talent that maybe is knowledgeable of how much talent they have. They understand it, but they don't flaunt it. And he really blends with his guys, I think.
And most guys coming out of high school now, the deficiencies are on the defensive end of the floor. It's an area that he really works on all the time and wants to get better at.
Again, Bolden's unable to get that one to go, and Stevens commits the foul, reaching in. And again, a reminder, coming up on Thursday, it's the Battle of the Blues. Duke, Roy Williams and company, the North Carolina Tar Heels. Memories of buzzer-beating wins 2 years ago. It was Austin Rivers as a freshman that did in the Heels. Could it be another one in succession? We'll find out. North Carolina and Duke. Recent years, the Blue Devils have fared well in Chapel Hill. Look at the ACC Player of the Week. James Michael McAdoo was the Player of the Week, and he's coming off his worst performance of the season last night. My guess is he'll be ready to play come Thursday.
Yeah, and three-point shooting, obviously, for Duke should be an area that they need to win statistically against North Carolina.
Poole Jr. with a little bounce in his step has come into the game and made a little bit of a difference in the second half at 65-48. Cook with the clock winding down, feeds Thornton for the three. 2 launched, 2 made by number 3. 68-48.
And by far the least significant thing he's done. I mean, he just had an outstanding floor game, made great decisions, and has been terrific on the defensive end of the floor.
Well, Carter Jr. at long last with an opportunity to make a perimeter jumper, and he does. 68-51, and this one will mercifully come to an end for the home team. And the Let's Go Duke chant from some of the Blue Devils congregation that's on hand is being heard around the building. 68-51 our final. We'll be back to wrap it up here in Atlanta right after this.
ACC basketball is being brought to you by